When you build elements in a Revit project, you see them right away in the view in which you draw them. However, because these elements are part of your model, you can immediately change views using the project browser and see the elements in any other view. Remember that in Revit you're building a virtual model. This means that just like in real life, if you have a room with a single door, even though you might need several separate drawings to convey that condition, for example a plan, an elevation, or a section, unlike AutoCAD, in Revit you would only draw this condition once, and then you would simply view it from several different vantage points. Now I'm in a file here called Project Browser, and it's really just a copy of where we left off after the previous movie. If you don't have this file, you can just simply open up any Revit project for this example. I'm going to open up a few of the views that are already here in the project. So I'm starting here in a 3D view, and if we look over here on the project browser under 3D views, you can see the name 3D here surrounded by curly brackets. That's the name that Revit assigns to what it calls the default 3D view. So that's what we have active here. I know it's active because it's bold on the project browser. Let me double click level 1 underneath floor plans. Notice that a floor plan opens up on screen and level 1 now is bold, indicating that that's the active view. And let's open up a couple more. Here's a south elevation and here's a west elevation. Now, one of the things that you can do when you're working in Revit projects is you can tile multiple views at the same time on the screen. So I'm going to go to the View tab and I'm going to click this tile icon right here. And that will tile all 4 windows. And then I'm going to look for my navigation bar, click the drop down, and I'm going to choose Zoom All to Fit. And that's going to zoom all 4 views to match the screen. And then if you want, you can click in each of these and fine tune the zoom a little. So I'm going to get in a little closer on the floor plan and maybe a little closer on some of the elevations. Now, as I click in each of these windows, notice that the item that's bold will change here in the project browser. So here's west, here's south, here's the 3D, and if we scroll back up here, here's the level 1 floor plan. So the name is listed right here. That's one way you can tell which view you're in. And then, of course, the bold on the project browser is the other way that you can tell. Now, you're not limited to just the views that you see. Another thing that you can do is if you want to get a better look at your model from some other vantage point that's not currently included on the browser here, you can see we have a fairly limited collection, a couple floor plans, a few elevations. We can create a new view. So the new view that I'm going to create is a section view, one of my favorite views in Revit, and you'll find yourself creating sections all the time. So I'm going to start here in the level 1 floor plan, and then on the View tab, I'm going to click the section icon right here, and then you just simply draw 2 points on screen to indicate where you want the section cut to occur. Now, if I zoom in slightly here, you can see I just missed this door. So it turns out you can actually move this thing. I'm just going to drag it slightly after the fact to fine-tune its position. And you can also use these grips out here to fine-tune its size. Now, I'm happy with the size of it currently, so I'm going to leave it alone. And if you look over here on the project browser, notice that a brand new category has appeared on the list. We now have a sections category. If I expand that, you'll see that section 1 is among the options. So I'm going to double click section 1 and notice that a brand new view opens up. It turns bold and we see section 1 right here, and that's the active window. Now we could certainly tile it with the others, but for now I'm just going to focus on the section, so I'm going to leave it all by itself. Notice that if you look in the background here at the floor plan, I'm going to move it just slightly out of the way here, that the section line is still highlighted. Now, this is an important thing to understand about views in Revit. Views are not separate drawings. They're not independent things. This symbol here is not just a symbol. That is the actual view. If you were to come over here to the floor plan, select this symbol and delete it, it would warn you that the section 1 view is about to be deleted. In other words, you can't disconnect the two. So if I cancel this and I take this section view and I move it, watch what happens and the live view that I have in the foreground. You see how it immediately changes to reflect the new position of this view? If I were to take this little grip here and drag it, watch what happens to that door in the section. You see how it disappears? Because our section is no longer deep enough to see that door. So these are live views that are cutting through some portion of the model that you indicate. And so you can't disconnect this section symbol from this view itself. They are one and the same. And that goes for the width as well. Notice that if I take this one and I drag it this way, it crops out a portion of the view here. I can do the opposite right here. If I drag it back this way, when you click over here, notice that that grip is restored. They are one and the same. So as you add views, they'll appear here on the project browser, and you can use the project browser to open and close them. If this view is closed, you can simply reopen it that way. Okay. And you can also use the project browser to organize the various views. So you can see here that currently I'm organized by the various view types. There are actually options here. If you click the views at the top, there are different options here where you can organize it by other groupings if you wish. Now, in my case, by view type works just fine. But if I had multiple disciplines in my project, like structure and MEP, I could organize by that. Or if we had new construction and existing construction, we could organize by that. So there are different ways that you can group and organize the project browser. But the project browser is the primary means for which you will interact with the views in your project, open those views in order to work in them, and as you add new views, they will immediately appear over in the project browser.